This article was published this morning. It says teachers are leaving careers they love in a last-ditch effort to save their mental health. How did we get here? I have some guesses. Maybe it's because when teachers say they're struggling, we respond with, no, you're not. Maybe it's because when they ask for more money, we say you shouldn't be in it for the money. When they say they're burnt out, we say try caring less. Don't work as hard, do the bare minimum. We ask for changes in education policy, and instead they say, why don't we regulate what you can and can't say? Why don't we make a policy that lets everybody be a teacher? Like, teachers are over here wanting to unalive themselves, and we respond with, make sure you're taking care of yourself. If you actually try to live outside of work, you'll probably get in trouble for it. Oh, you didn't do this perfectly, you're going to get criticized for it. And again, these are just guesses.
So this TikToker by the name of Anna Sutter points out many of the ways that our society treats teachers terribly. And there are a lot of different reasons for this, but one I want to center on is something that David Graeber actually talks about in his book BS Jobs. And that's the concept of moral envy, which is to say that ultimately we all understand that teaching is a highly meaningful and rewarding work. But because of that, a lot of people in our puritanical society have really weird ideas about what teachers should do. First and foremost is the idea that because the work is meaningful, it should be paid less, which is really strange. Because think about it, the jobs that are more meaningful and beneficial to society are obviously the ones that should be paid more if we lived in a morally decent society. But because Americans have this very puritanical work ethic, the idea from a lot of rich folks, believe it or not, ends up being you should accept lower pay because your job is meaningful. The work should be its own reward. And that right there is the heart of America's puritanical culture, that you should work for its own reward, and you shouldn't be in it for the money. In fact, job interviews really press this idea a lot, because if you're doing a job interview and they ask you, hey, why are you interested in this job? And your response is, because I need money to pay rent, odds are you're probably not going to get that job. We're all forced to pretend that we want jobs for some sort of grander purpose in life, for self-fulfillment, when in actuality, for most of us, it's because we just want to survive. But for a teacher, I can think of a million different reasons why somebody would want to be a teacher, because they want to have a meaningfully positive impact on the community. But that is also exactly why so many people in society feel like they have some sort of right to tell teachers what to do. Now, a large part of this also stems from the sexist history of the United States. The reality is that things like teaching, nursing, and a litany of other jobs that have traditionally been held as women's work are also the ones that are both paid less and morally policed by a bunch of weirdos on the internet. And this really harkens back to the long history within the United States of people feeling as though they have some more right to dictate the lives of women around them, to tell women how to dress, to tell women how to work, to tell women how to parent their kids. All of these things are incredibly normalized in our society, and especially when it comes to women working in fields that are also traditionally women's work, which, by the way, is a incredibly sexist concept in and of itself. And this also speaks to something that I think a lot of people, even on the left, have a big issue with, and that is not prioritizing or centering the reality of caring labor, especially when it comes to working class issues. When you hear a lot of politicians and people on the left broadly speaking about working class people, usually their first thought is people in like manufacturing. But never in history have most people been working in a factory. In fact, the biggest industries are actually the ones that are centered around caring labor. That is a labor that is more about maintaining things. It is labor that is more about taking care of people. This would be people like nurses, especially people working like nursing homes, for example. It would be people like teachers. It would even be people like customer service representatives and waitresses. These are all jobs that are centered around meeting other people's needs. And that type of caring labor is very often devalued. Once again, partly because of how meaningful it is to society. If, for example, tomorrow there were no more hedge fund managers in the United States, I don't think anybody would notice or care. But If tomorrow there were no teachers or nurses, then society would fall apart very quickly, I might add. But instead of recognizing these people as the everyday heroes that they are, the people who make our society possible, people, especially people who are more privileged and in positions of power, go out of their way to try and police the behavior of these folks, to nitpick every single detail that teachers and people in other caring labor fields do, instead of respecting them for the work that they do and trusting them to know and do their best.
This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Young Turks Twitch channel, and you can follow me at Benjamin Carollo on Twitter.